Okay, so I am going to review what I'm pretty certain is the worst martial arts film ever. I would say feel free to come up with a worse one if you want to, but I really hope you don't, because this is just so bad, and it's actually just the worst film I've seen. Now, it's called Revenge of the Drunken Master. The new king of Kung Fu, Johnny Chan. I missed his reign. I guess it was quite short. I don't know. Cost 50 pence. Okay, 50 pence. Can't even buy a packet of crisps with that usually. It's a fucking rip-off. Anyway, so let's, oh, hang on, let's go back to the beginning. Okay, so we start with this nice little Drunken Master bit, and that's actually quite good. It's tempting to do this in a kind of a Cinema Sins format. In case you don't know, Cinema Sins is a YouTube channel where they go through films scene by scene and count the sins in each, what they consider to be the sins in each scene, and they quite often come up with quite a lot for each film, and they tend to trash an awful lot of films completely unnecessarily. I don't know quite, yeah, there's a lot of people who get really angry about Cinema Sins just because it just seems to be based on sort of misunderstandings where they're not even trying to understand what happens in the film, and you know, they're not taking much notice of what's actually being said and stuff like that. But anyway, I think even Cinema Sins would be hard pressed to come up with anything to make this worse than it actually is. Okay, so then we get into this first sort of fight scene, which I've got to say, right, it's a lot of it is from above, and it's all kind of funny. Now, obviously, you do quite often get people doing these positions and stuff to start with, and yeah, it might seem a bit exaggerated, but that's kind of what they do. But amazing how they carry on like that. Now, there's a lot of things that are kind of wrong with it. It's just like it's got this really like strange. The story's kind of all over the place, and it really just cannot decide if it's a comedy or if it's serious, or I don't really know, to be honest with you. Maybe I think this person's very twisted view on life, basically. Whoever wrote this, whoever made this film, whoever conceived of this, it's just the most strange thing. So in this bit, yeah, they're still going on a bit. But yeah, so this is the bit where it all looks a bit strange. So you see they're all doing these kind of poses, like they're moving around, and even when there's no particular reason for them to, like, I don't particularly understand why they keep doing their, I mean, it looks like they're just doing a choreographed dance routine, to be honest with you. It's a bit strange. I don't know quite what that is. And it looks, to be honest, it looks like comedy, but I'm not entirely sure if they really mean it that way. Certainly there are a lot of things in this that they seem to think are funny, which I just think are really appalling. So it's a bit of a strange one. So yeah, that's all great and fun and everything. They now I am going to be quite nitpicky about this, and like it's probably going to seem in some ways a bit like I probably wouldn't be that nitpicky, but the thing is, it's just such a bad film. It feels like it is worth pointing out how bad it really is, like the little thought that's gone into this. And for example, it's called Revenge of the Drunken Master, but and this looks like he's the Drunken Master here, but he isn't. He's Drunken Kid. I don't know why he's always referred to in the film as Drunken Kid. Even his girlfriend calls him that. I'm not entirely sure why. It's like he doesn't have a name or something. And but the Drunken Master was his teacher, and he died, and this is his house that's being burned. Oh, let's hear what this girl is saying. See, this is the Drunken Master's house being burned. This is his girlfriend and her brother outside, escaping from the burning house.
Here's the bottle.
They've seized his bottle as proof that they've killed the master. Turned out not to be enough.
Sure, man. We'll find him. Go.
So, like the.
Brother, just take care of yourself. Don't worry about me.
And there's a thing that's always really annoying about women in films. They're all so self-sacrificing and meek and all that. And also, you could see in that she was wearing some sort of very pink thing. You know, she kind of wears these clothes that you actually would normally think of as for being for rich people, but she's a poor girl. But she's wearing these rich people's clothes that rich people would have worn in 19th century China. Now, okay, so there's a show called Peaky Blinders, which I've never actually got around to watching, but it sounds like it's something I'd really like. And the thing is, it's one of the things it's famous for is the clothes that the mobsters wear. Oh god, and here we've got some serious ableism shit going on. This here, he's obviously disabled. He's blind in one eye, and when he talks you can tell that he's of lower intelligence, he's got some sort of mental problem. And the evil guy's stroking his head. Isn't that lovely? Now the thing is that, yeah, he, quite often people who are evil are portrayed as having some sort of disability or deformity. And, see, look, he's kind of walking not properly upright as well. I mean, like, honestly, that's just really, that's just like, having this man, this disabled person as the evil guy's pet, that's just even more demeaning to disabled people. It's just really terrible. So, yeah, it's just like this whole thing, they're always playing into all of this shit that pisses me off. Except they make up some more shit that piss me off even more. Probably before I go any further, I should do a trigger warning. There's rape in this, okay? I'm going to talk about it at the end. Now, I'm not normally, like, before you go around and say, oh, trigger warnings. Thing is, like, I don't normally get that triggered by rape in films, or on screen, or in books, or anything like that. Yeah, I've been quite okay with watching the Game of Thrones, and you know, I've never been particularly upset by the rape scenes in that. So it's not like I'm, you know, always massively triggered, but I was really triggered by this. It really upset me quite a lot. And it wasn't just that, it was everything that happened afterwards between the rapist and the woman he raped. It was just terrible. So, and I actually had to go and dig out like a gentle Jet Li comedy about a hitman who couldn't do any hits. So it, like, but I will do that at the end because it was just so bad. It needs a lot of discussion, really. So anyway, their big thing is that they do this acupuncture thing. Aside from them being the drunken kung fu people, they do this acupuncture thing where they make people laugh. And turns out later, there's going to be this guy appear later who's after this drunken kid person, because he did this acupuncture on the governor, the local governor, and made him laugh, and now he is never stopping. So, you know, he did one cool thing. But anyway, so I think we'll go on to some leopard print trousers, I think, and that's probably going to be around here, if it'll move. A bit further. And a bit further again. So this guy here, for some reason, he has leopard print trousers. Can't see them at the moment, because, let's go back a little bit. Oh, this is so irritating. It's quite difficult to get this in the right place exactly. I'll just... here we go. See, leopard print trousers. Like, what the hell is he doing wearing leopard print trousers? When do they ever have them in Chinese 19th century China? And, yeah, so anyway, the Peaky Blinders thing, they obviously the clothes they wear, they're quite famous for the clothes they wear, the mobsters, but they didn't actually wear those. I was listening to a guy who was an expert in period costume, and he said that those mobsters, they wouldn't have worn those clothes because mobsters were like really low class and those were high class clothes. But it sort of didn't matter to him because, you know, he felt that there's a certain amount of poetic license allowed, and it's fine to do that. And I think that on the whole it is going to be fine to do that. But there are some things that are just ridiculous. I mean, this whole film is just so ridiculous. This is one of these sort of strange comedy bits. I don't... he gets chased after, he's like a pretend drunken kid or something. It's a bit strange. I think it's supposed to be comedy, but it sort of doesn't really work, just like everything else in this film. So let's see if we can get to here. No, it's a bit further actually, isn't it? Okay, so this girl, right, she's wearing this pretty dress, and she's a slave girl. She's that guy's slave there, and she's always been passed around, but she's wearing like quite a nice dress, which I don't think any slave girl would have worn. I'm gonna skip over that. And then later on we see her again wearing something a bit better. Let's see if I can get that correctly. Oh no. See, that's Mia Rank, that's the girlfriend of the drunken kid. I honestly did not realise that they were a couple. I thought that he was another brother of hers, because their relationship is just not that obvious. I mean, yes, they're hugging like that, but you know, I've been known to hug my brother. It's kind of a thing, isn't it? Anyway, so she's wearing these very sort of fine clothes that a poor girl wouldn't wear. Then this other girl, she's sort of turns up wearing... There she's about to come here. See, she's wearing another... when I first saw her, it's so different. When I first saw her, I didn't quite recognise her. I also wasn't expecting her to show up, as I will explain later. But yeah, she's again wearing these very posh clothes. And, okay, so, yeah, maybe I could allow some poetic licence, but I'm not going to for this film, because it's just so shit. So this policeman that she's chasing, this guy that she's chasing after, turns out to be a police officer, which is really terrible. He's kind of foolish. I'm going to go on a bit because I know. So this is one of those bizarre bits.
Okay, put me down. How about there?
Look how she's lovely and happy and giggly with him. Really terrible.
Hot rain?
Okay, so he just said hot rain. So what is that? Is that guy weighing on them? That's just really strange. Like, why have they done that? And there's no particular reason. It's like the fact that this guy is hung up there as well is a bit strange, because he and his girlfriend, which you now about to see, they were actually both caught, but for some reason this guy decided to leave him tied up in that tree and then only bring this girl along. Not entirely sure why. I don't really see any sense in it. So, yeah, there's just all this sort of strange stuff they do. And then we go back to the... Right, so he's decided now that the best thing to do with this man to stop him escaping is to have him on the end of a noose in a river down there. Not entirely sure what that is about. I thought he was fine up in the net, to be honest with you. And look, that's not very tight, and it's not very difficult for him to escape from that, as we kind of see in a bit. Okay, I'm just going to put the sound up on there. See, this is one of the points where he says all these terrible things. Okay, cool.
Tell me, have you ever seen a naked man's body before? Don't look now. You might get excited.
Yes, yes! We all get excited when we see men's naked bodies, don't we? Yes, it's very exciting and lovely. Ooh, God. So anyway, so she's looking away, and then
Can I look now?
and she turns around and he's gone. And it's like, why that other man left him with her, with that rope anyway, I have no idea, because that man in the river, drunken kid in the river, he could easily have jerked it out of her hand anyway. She's not exactly strong. So it's just generally, and then they're at this fighting place for no apparent reason. So the next bit, hilariously, he's wearing this grass skirt because he was left with no clothes. Luckily, I think he does have some pants on underneath. He's kind of escaped into this village place, which is supposed to be a village of lepers. Where he's sat is this man who's, for no apparent reason, is buried in these leaves.
If you know what's good for you.
So anyway, he kind of works out in a little bit.
It's a leper's village. And I've had leprosy for over 70 years.
Yeah, he's had 70 years!
70 years?
Right. And now that you're here, you'll die.
In 70 years?
Give me a liver.
That's just so strange.
The only thing that's
So anyway, there's this kind of very long preamble. I mean, this is a man who sort of, he finds to teach him more things so that he can defeat the bad guy and who killed his master. And I'm not entirely sure, it's just like,
You say I'm not a leper?
there's an awful lot of preamble to this.
Look at your thick eyebrows.
My eyebrows?
And your fingers. You don't have leprosy.
Oh, he's smart, isn't he? Isn't he clever?
Reason for lying.
Look at that.
Why are you hiding
So
here?
there's still this
In the
kind of
forest.
pre-teacher taking on a student banter that goes on for quite a long time.
Just teach me how to fight as well as you do. I promise you. I'll do my best to practice.
Well, it's
hard.
actually only a couple of minutes,
Teach me.
but you know.
I think you're an insolent and arrogant young man.
So there we go. That's how you tell someone that you're going to teach them. Watch this. This is so really important bit.
Everything around you is a combination of positive and negative forces. When the negatively charged air hits the positively charged air, it causes thunder and lightning. I developed my unique space fist based on this theory, and you must always believe that this theory can save your life.
And that's it. That's his next bit of training that really helps him to on his journey. Oh, and then she's repelling him because she's a proper girl.
Bitches like you are no good.
Yeah.
You will come to me in time. Now you just stay there.
Oh,
and
God.
lay in the dirt.
She's just so irritating. Oh, so there he is sleeping in the leaves. I guess that must be like a really important part of his training. I've got no idea why they're doing that. I mean, like, it's already supposed to be a village of lepers. Nobody goes there. They don't need to hide in the leaves, I don't think. Or has he got leprosy?
Once you believe it,
No, it's like,
you
and
can
also,
do
it's like,
anything.
this whole positive negative thing, you never see anything of that. You don't see in the next bit, like rest of it, any sign of him being a drunken any kind of drunken biter, doing anything that looks like a drunken form or anything. And there's no thunder and lightning, I can tell you that. So obviously they're doing this, let's kill this virginal girl because she's refusing to have sex with me thing. And she's just being so meek and mild. Obviously she's dressed in white because that's what they do. And oh look, the evil guy's pet is disabled still. Oh, it's just really bad. And look at that noose, that's just so rubbish. Like, that's what they're like all the time. Like, how is that going to work exactly? Except that apparently it does. when they actually try it. And oh my god, we're really building up to this, aren't we? Oh, yeah, this is so great. And she's so meek and mild and accepting, and oh, it's just so sickening and sad. And oh, there we go. And I can't. Oh look, Drunken Kid's here to save her at the last minute. Oh, isn't this lovely? Oh my god, it's so beautiful. Look at them. They're sort of running towards each other in slow motion. They're shouting in slow motion too. Meringue. She seems to be called Meringue. And she's so Drunken Kid. I don't really understand that. And oh god, she's still dead anyway. And I've got to say that didn't look like it was done in the best way. I'll be honest. I just think the acting is really. Oh, it's just all really bad. So now we have this fight scene, this final closing fight scene. Look, there's 14 minutes and it's over 50 seconds. There's nearly like 15 minutes left, and it is all fighting. I actually did get bored. I'm not entirely sure why they did quite so much at the end. And I have a few videos where I do forms for like 5 minutes straight or something, and that. But I kind of feel like 15 minutes is a stretch, really. Obviously, doing forms is different from actually fighting. I think actually fighting is probably more tiring. But yeah, this all kind of goes on a bit. We'll get to the next bit with, oh my god, the symbols. Oh no, hang on. That's the leopard print guy again. This guy with the leopard print trousers. Honestly. Still wearing them. I mean, top marks for wearing leopard print trousers. I mean, but where he got those in the 19th century, I've got no idea. They're not fur. I did look closely at them. I'm not sure why he'd wear leopard fur trousers anyway. So anyway, let's get to the symbols. Oh, look at these! Aren't they cool? This is a very cool weapon. I kind of think, right, this is just like, okay, I get that. I think this has been really cool. This had potential to be great, but I just feel like the effects. I mean, look at that. What's it do? How is it moving like that? It's like obviously being waved around on a stick or on a string or something. No, I don't believe it's his amazing skill in wafting it around. It's just like, and this kind of goes on for quite a while as well. Yeah, how is it moving like that? It's amazing. I just don't get it. I mean, I get that there's an element of things being a bit fantastical in martial arts films, but they do at least generally make a bit more of an effort to look like it's not been around onto a stick or something. But anyway. So then we've got this sort of strange bit, a bit close towards the end. Oh look, there's this police officer, this guy, right? Now, up to this point, now he was chasing after Drunken Kid because he's a police officer who was sent after Drunken Kid because of his poking the governor and making him laugh for the rest of his life. And, but, so they sort of he kind of randomly suddenly sides with Drunken Kid. It seems this police officer has a bit of a history with this guy, this evil guy who has an evil pet. Evil pet seems to have gone. Don't think he died or anything, but he just seems to have gone. So anyway, on the basis of this history, he's sort of seemed to suddenly decide, oh look, isn't that cool how his stuff is coming on? Yeah, he seems to suddenly decide to forgive whatever Drunken Kid did and go along with him. But it's never really made clear what that history is at all. Yeah, his hair's pretty silly. I'm a little bit. I don't think they only ever got Chinese actors. Some of them look like they're not really Chinese. Yeah, so, oh God. There's this next bit which I think we must be coming to any second, like, come on, we must be. Where he pulls out this extraordinary power that I never knew. Like, I still can't see any sign of Drunken Kid using his thunder and lightning technique. Or I don't even know if it's meant to be producing what it was meant to do, the positive and negative forces, really. But I don't see him doing any of that. Oh, let's get to the... Oh, I think I've missed it now. It's really irritating. So, now, like, he's already tried to do this plugging his finger into the navel thing before, I think. Yeah, oh no, this is the bit where he first does it. He just whacks him down for no apparent reason. So look, he's plugging his finger into this guy's navel and drawing on some power. I had no idea he had any kind of power to do that before. He just seemed like some police officer guy who was being a twat. So anyway, he just seems to have some kind of power to channel it. It's not clear what this power is that he's channeling, how he's channeling it, where he learned to do it. It's just something that he's pulled out of thin air for no apparent reason. Oh look, he's really winding up for a bit now. Isn't that going to be great? He's obviously just going to go for it now. Oh yeah, that's all very cool and dramatic. So yeah, it's a bit uncertain why he's just that stiff and not. And then he does all this sort of pose. Oh look, there's that girl again. God knows why she's still there. I really don't understand. And then he kind of keeps doing this poseable action figure thing. Like, I don't really. Like, what's he doing that? What? How? What? Why can't he just move? I mean, he seems to have iron balls now, which is great. I'm sure that's really helpful. But I don't really understand why he's like that. I don't understand why the transfer of energy seems to make that happen. So there we go. And oh look, we've got this grand finish. Oh my god, this is so amazing, right? So brilliant. Look what he's doing. He's not even biting his balls there. Look what he's doing is they're going to do this kind of amazing. I don't know why they did that. Right. So look. Oh my god! Look at how far he's going off, and look at how he's rushing off. He's rushing off for a reason. And wow, how brilliant! They got to land in that coffin, and then he's looking like that. For I can't work out what that expression is supposed to be be honest with you. And then it's the end. So there we are. That's yeah. I don't really get a lot of that film. I don't. It just all. There's just so much in it that seems so it just like I don't think they quite understand what they're doing. Really, I mean, it's like I've seen LARPing shorts that look better than that. I mean, to be honest. They all look better than that. I mean, at least with the LARPers, they are obviously conscious of what they're doing and they're not making any pretensions to being some kind of a serious film or anything. But this thinks it's a serious film, but it's just so bad. So anyway, now I'm going to talk about the rape thing. Okay, right. So yeah, switch off now if you might be triggered, because it is quite bad. So, I mean, I'm not one of these feminists who thinks that you should never see rape in films or on TV series and things like that, or it should never be in books or anything like that. Now, obviously, there are ways of doing it that are bad and dodgy and better ways and stuff like that. But the fact is that it's pretty obvious, I hope by now, that it's very common for women to be subject to sexual abuse and harassment to varying degrees, and to try and And you get people who say, oh, you shouldn't see that because we don't want to see women as victims. But the fact is, it does happen. And the only people you're really helping, and if you try and pretend that it doesn't happen by saying it can't be seen in films or in TV series and stuff like that, it's like trying to say it doesn't happen, but it does. And the only people that you're helping by kind of trying to wipe that out are the people who do the raping and people who do the sexual abusing. That's the only people. I mean, that's what the Catholic Church did. They tried to say it didn't happen, and they weren't helping the victims at all. And, you know, you're not helping victims of rape by saying there should never be any of it in any films. Okay, so we'll get that out of the way. I mean, like Kill Bill, for example. And by the way, right, if you are watching this and you've not seen the Kill Bill films, fuck off. What are you even doing here? Obviously, I cannot understand how you could watch this video and not see the Kill Bill films, right? If you have not watched the Kill Bill films, right, go away, watch them, think about what you've done, and then come back and do a full confession and apology in the comments. And it's all just, like, really, honestly. So, anyway, like, I did read a review of the Kill Bill films once, and it was a feminist review, and this woman did sort of say she didn't really think that it was necessary for that bit in the film where Beatrix Kiddo wakes up from a coma and discovers that she's one of the orderlies, I think they call working there, has been repeatedly pimping out her body and probably raping himself. And now, I didn't have a problem with that because, you know, what did she do? Well, she killed them pretty quickly. She didn't really mess about with that, you know, and it's not like you see much, you know, I mean, you hear this really quite disgusting conversation between Buck, the orderly, and the trucker who's about to rape her, and it's making it pretty clear what's been happening, but all you actually see is the trucker looming in on her, and then you hear this scream, and then Buck goes back to the hospital room, and then this trucker is dead on the bed, blood everywhere, and he can't see Beatrix anywhere, and she slashes his tendons on the back of his leg, and that's great. I think that's great, you know. The thing you've got to remember is that, you know, things in fiction are often a way of exploring things, or exploring ideas, exploring fantasies. They can be a bit wish fulfillment. For me, as someone who did have a lot of fantasies about killing a man who raped me when I was 15, 16 and he was 39, that was pretty good. I quite enjoyed seeing that. Obviously I wouldn't recommend you do that in real life, but you see, I kind of think that there's a lot of women who would like to see that. I'm not saying that every woman who has been raped would like to see it, but I don't think it's a good idea to assume that women are going to be upset by saying that. I really wasn't. I quite enjoyed watching that. So, but anyway, so there are degrees of this, okay. I don't know why it does that. It's just, it should just go straight to the feature. So, but let's see how this film deals with it, okay? See what this film thinks of what's happening here. Okay, we better go back a bit. Okay, so let's put the sound on. Let's go back a little bit more.
Teacher!
Oh, bloody hell, this is quite irritating. Right, let's try this again, shall we?
No, I don't.
So, right, these two guys have got that girl tied up and that man, and they're now doing a sword game to decide who gets to rape the girl first. Isn't this lovely? Jaunty little jokey tune.
Why should I? Come on.
So,
1, 2, 3, and then take your hand off. All right. 1, 2, 3.
and I don't know quite why that sword stands there and then falls down slowly like that.
Sword never lies. Oh dear. It looks like I get her this time.
And he's not joking, okay? I'm telling you now, he's not joking about that. He really means it.
You are anyway.
Okay?
Just can't walk in and take
See,
her like this.
this looks to me like
I'll
these.
take
They all
whatever
think
I
it's
wanna take.
fun, and the music kind of indicates that it's a fun game too. Okay? So we can go on a little bit further.
Life's been very difficult for me lately. That girl was given to me. Here, You see what I mean? You want money? Sorry.
You stinking beggar.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
Don't call me that. Have pity on me.
I have no pity on you.
So basically, this man, he's happened upon these people, taken out those guys who were playing some game to see who gets to rape this girl first. And then because the other man who was tied up, who she was with, didn't have any money, he just injures the man further and then takes this girl off with him.
Mine! Come back!
So you kind of hope that, I don't know, maybe he's going to, you know, do something nice, untie her. But no, he's still got her tied up.
What are you doing?
And the soundtrack, okay?
Anything wrong? I'm not a mad woman. Please let me go. Please let me go.
So she's screaming, she's crying. Okay. Soundtrack sounds kind of, I don't know, quite nice.
You just sit there. Take it.
And then he hits her.
Please don't hurt me anymore.
And she's saying, please don't hurt me. Okay, she's screaming, she's crying. She's tied up. Okay, look, this is pretty clear, I think, what's happening here. Like, but listen to the music. Sort of lovely, gentle music. Okay, so, right, that's pretty clear, right? He just raped her. You'd think that was pretty clear, right? I thought that was pretty clear. So you'd think that the people who made this film would think it was pretty clear. Okay, so we're going to the next scene now. Let's go straight to the next scene, right? So that was pretty upsetting. I found that quite upsetting to start with. Okay, but let's see how this looks, carries on, shall we? So first of all, this there he is having a post-coital apple. I guess they didn't have cigarettes or something. She's bathing in the stream. Fair enough. I would want to do that myself in that situation. I'd be a bit creeped out by this guy still there watching, but you know, she probably didn't feel like she had much choice. So yeah. Oh look, she's kind of looking a bit. She's not looking uncomfortable, is she? She's looking a bit coquettish, in fact.
Aren't I the best lover you've ever had?
Whoa! Did you hear that? I don't know. Is this loud enough? I think I'm going to make this louder. See.
Yes.
So he just said, "Aren't I the best lover you've ever had?" It's just like, that's disgusting. No. What? And then she's saying yes and smiling. And like, what? I mean, how disgusting is that guy? But why is she even reacting like that?
The best and also the last one.
Okay, so when I first saw this, right, I've seen a few other Chinese type things, and you know, quite often when a woman's been raped, she'll kill herself because of the shame. But so is that what she's going to do?
What? The last one?
Yes. Because you saved my life.
Oh right, okay. He saved her life. That's so brilliant. That means that the fact that he raped her is absolutely okay. I don't what did it.
So what about it?
Darling, tell me, how do you make your living?
I just call him darling. I like what? No.
Me? I'm a cop.
Oh, he's a cop. Oh well, good. That's brilliant. A raping cop, raping women he just happens to find tied up.
I catch robbers. And try to rid the earth of all the bad elements.
Oh, is that what he's doing? While raping? Because raping's not a bad thing, is it?
It sounds so exciting.
Yeah, obviously. That's really exciting. I'd be so excited.
How did you get to be with that old man?
When I was small, my parents died, and I went to live with my aunt and uncle.
When they moved to a bigger town, they knew money would be tight there. So they gave me to him.
But aren't you still just a child?
No,
How old are you?
18.
Okay, so the whole time she's looking kind of coquettish and flirty, and to be honest, I think she's lying about, I think the idea is that she's meant to be lying about her the fact that she's 18, and I just feel that's just really, I don't know, like it could be that she's meant to be 18 as though the fact that she's 18 makes it okay, but I also suspect, I equally suspect they'd be like implying that she's actually under 18 because every saucy little underage wench is gonna lie when she's just been, well, I don't understand, like this is some great romantic thing. What's going on?
Relatives?
Not anymore.
Alone?
I guess so.
You guess so.
Yes. I think you're nice. Wandering around, you don't meet very many nice people like you.
Oh
All my
God.
life I've been unfortunate. But now I think maybe my luck is changing a bit.
So what was the other guy like?
Don't you think so too? I hope it is. I really do.
Like I was tearing. I
I'm
was just
your
like,
girl.
I could not believe
And
it.
now I'll be happy. Together, we can make this thing work. You
Yeah.
agree?
Oh, absolutely.
Don't you
Sounds
think
like
I'm
lovely.
pretty?
What? What's this girl doing? Saying what? Why?
Where are you,
Oh, he's disappeared.
darling?
Okay, so when I first watched this, I thought, oh, thank God, this woman's had a lucky escape. For God's sake, the guy's realised that he's just got this woman in love with him. Obviously, he doesn't want that. He just likes raping women, doesn't want them trailing around after her. So he's buggered off and left her. I thought, oh, thank God. Because, yeah, that would have just been, it was just like the best thing for her. That's what I thought. Well, let's see, shall we? Okay, so this is the guy that was left tied up, who had sort of owned her previously. They're in this building. There's a lot of these buildings are around for no apparent reason. Oh look, she's turned up in these pink
My
clothes,
love.
and she's so upset
away.
because he's refusing to acknowledge her
Don't pretend that you don't know me.
because she loves him so
I
much.
miss you so much.
It's
I'm
like,
certain
why
all
is she
that I can
turning
do for
up
you.
like this?
And now that you're here,
And she's like, "But what? I don't understand why she
I'm
has just.
so glad that I found you.
I don't understand
Promise
this.
that you won't leave
Like,
me.
what is going
I'll
on
look after you.
with these people who wrote this?
Anyway, I can give you anything that you like.
What? What do you mean by that?
I mean that I've got some money.
Yeah,
you
I
don't
have
need to worry about.
absolutely no idea where she got that money from. How she procured that, that's just like, I have no idea. So there's this guy coming along with some heavies to beat the police officer up, which I can understand. He was obviously pretty nasty. But I don't think that, yeah, I just cannot understand that, okay? And right through the film, she's
Okay.
just like this
So we
with
can stay
him. I mean, you saw
together.
later on, there's that bit later on where she's being carried through the
Sorry to
forest
interrupt
on
you.
his back. And she's just constantly giggling and happy
Look,
and
look,
loving
right, right,
him, and I just do not understand
You
it.
want to fight?
Okay, I do not understand how it is that these people wrote that character. Like, what has been their experience of relationships with women, for God's sake? I mean, okay, there are some pretty dodgy portrayals of rape in films, okay, but this is absolute worst. I just cannot understand how it is that this girl is just, and it's treated like a kind of a joke. I mean, she's like it to the point of where it seems to be a joke. It's just beggars belief. I cannot understand it. And this is why it's just like that. That is actually what just makes it the worst film. And it just kind of goes to show that these people, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't understand any of it. It's just the most ridiculous film for every reason you can think of, and that is the absolute worst. So there we go. I just really needed to get this out of my system. Okay, I know it's taken a while, but I have been busy with other stuff. My next film that I'm reviewing will be a cheerier film. Hopefully I won't be reviewing anything as bad as that again. If you can think of another film that's worse, maybe don't tell me. I'm just not sure I can go with it. But yeah, it was just so bad. So anyway, next film will be a bit cheerier. I will not be ranting quite so much about it.